This will be a step-by-step guide to buying your first profitable rental. Everybody knows that real estate investing is one of the best ways to build generational wealth. Also, many know that Airbnbs and the short-term loophole can help W-2 owners and business owners pay less in taxes. However, when done right, Airbnbs can produce serious cash flow. When done wrong, you can end up without the bookings you want and not getting the cash flow you desire, if any at all. So who am I and why can I talk about this? I've done over $4 million in short-term rental revenue and should do about $1.5 million this year. I'm the host of the Short-Term Rental Pros podcast. I have personally purchased over a dozen properties on behalf of myself and investors. I've also helped people like Matt, who bought a property for $180,000 that did $90,000 in revenue in its first year, or my colleague Kyle, who bought a property for $775,000 that did $300,000 in revenue. Crazy stuff. I built a tool, BNBCalc, that is helping investors run the numbers on deals, and I just closed on a property a couple weeks ago and under contract on another that follows this framework I'm going to give you guys today. The last few deals I have done have achieved a 40% plus cash on cash return. However, I've also gone into deals that haven't panned out the way I'd like. I've even sold properties. These are largely properties that were bought in 2021 and 2022 that did not use this framework I'm about to give you. So I've learned a lot, and I'm going to share a simple step-by-step framework, not just buy a property, but buy one that can actually cash flow today and into the future. So first order of business, what is a good investment? For long-term rentals, a good investment is something that goes up in value over time and doesn't lose you money on a month-to-month basis. Each time the renter pays their rent, they pay it on time, you don't have to evict them, and that you are gaining equity in this property over time through these mortgage payments. So for long-term rentals, the most important thing is really just picking the right area, because appreciation is what's going to actually lead to a good investment. It's also very important to vet your tenants, because if you get the wrong tenant in there and you have to evict them, that will not only kill your cash flow, but they might even do serious damage to your property. For short-term rentals, the similarities are appreciation is important, and every month renters are paying down your mortgage. However, the key difference is that with short-term rentals, you can actually cash flow. And let me caveat, long-term rentals, I'm sure there are people out there cash flowing, but honestly today it is quite rare. So with short-term rentals, you can actually cash flow. However, you can also flop on the flip side. Investors refer to this as the risk premium. It means because there is more risk, you should only do something if there's more reward. So with this, you don't want to just cash flow. You should hope to cash flow a minimum of $1,000 a month with a short-term rental. And this is also not an entirely passive investment. It is what I consider a hybrid real estate and hospitality model. At this point, I have a team and can manage a 7-figure revenue portfolio in a couple hours a week, but you should expect to give a couple hours a week to manage a smaller portfolio at the beginning, maybe even a single property. And you should also expect to commit more time to the setup. So we need to value that time. Is your time $1,000 a month? $2,000 a month? For me at this point, I'd say probably $3,000 to $3,500 per month per property is how I value my time, assuming no other partners on the deal. But be honest with yourself. And keep in mind, this doesn't consider the tax savings on the deal. That is a huge added bonus and something that is a unique about short-term rentals. And if you want a video on the short-term rental loophole and how to maximize tax savings, comment that below. But for the sake of what's good investment, let's just think about our cash flow. So one aspect of cash flow is the initial cash investment. That's important to keep in mind here, as you should want more cash flow if you put more money into the property. This includes your down payment, renovations, and furnishing costs. So we're going to run the numbers on properties with BNBCalc later in the video and get an idea of what this could look like for you, but let's just get started with the process. So step one, we need to figure out who is your ideal customer avatar. You often hear that the first step is to pick a market. Don't do that. Think about who you want your hospitality business to cater to. I like 1, 2, or maybe 3 couples escaping the city together to enjoy nature. You can call this a wellness retreat. I also like multiple families having a reunion under one roof. Why do I like these avatars? Well, for a couple's nature wellness experience, these are folks escaping the city. They usually have money and are looking for a calm experience. Think about how this compares to bachelor parties. Why families? Because they are booking a big house versus a hotel. So they're actually getting a great deal relative to having to get like 5 hotel rooms. So I like this value proposition. Let's say you want to buy with less money for your first one. So a couple's retreat property is likely smaller and less expensive than one that caters to large families. So we're gonna go with that for today's video, which leads us to step 2. Step 2, pick your feeder cities. So you might be confused. I still haven't said which market you should look for. I had you first pick your ideal customer avatar. And now that you know which guest avatar you're looking to cater to, we are picking a location that is good for that specific demographic. So we're doing couples wellness retreats. Happy to do another video focused on other avatars, but make sure to subscribe and comment and let me know if you want me to do that. Your wish is my command. But back to this video. So we know who we want, but we should understand where they're likely to be coming from. I highly recommend picking a location that is driving distance from population centers. If your guest needs to fly and rent a car, then drive to you, it might be hard to have predictable traffic. So let's focus on being within driving distance from population centers. For the sake of this video, and as I sit here in my Brooklyn, New York office, I'm gonna pick a general area that can serve both New York City and Boston. I'm going to draw a circle of areas within 3 hours of Boston, or let's call it 200 miles, and also 200 miles of New York City. Now, let's see where the areas intersect. Bang! This is our market. Now that we know where we are looking, let's find some comparable properties and figure out what the pros are doing. Step 3, identify the pros. Who and what is a pro? Well, my definition for a pro is someone who has already went through this exercise and is succeeding. How can you tell? Look at their listings. Have they curated their first 5 photos to cater to a specific customer avatar? Where can you find this? Go to Airbnb and go to this area. Ironically, I did this, and actually 2 people that I know personally, my friends who are definitely pros, had their properties pop up. The first one is Maddie and Skylar, who are awesome. Let's start their portfolio for the purpose of this assignment. Looks like their property is a wellness retreat and caters to a similar avatar. You can see in their reviews where customers are coming from. Looks like it's a lot of New Jersey, New York, and Boston. So I'm like, yuck, people from New Jersey. We got to find a new market. That was actually my first attempt here at a joke. I was born in New Jersey and I'm marrying a girl from New Jersey. So no actual shade there. Per Airbnb, it is usually fully booked and looks like they're charging on the low end about $250 a night up to about $1,000. So if we extrapolate this out to 300 nights a year booked at on average $500 a night, they're making $100,000 or so. I know them personally and know that they're only going to do an investment to make money. So I'd imagine they didn't buy this particular property for millions of dollars. So my next question is, how much does it cost to buy a property in that general area? I actually found another property in that general area. If you look here, we're directly west of Boston and directly north of New York City. And this place is also a rare find. In the winter, they're charging $400 a night, and in the summer, looks like they're either booked or blocked off. But coming up to April, $400 a night. Weekend in February, $450 a night, $420 a night. So another property, it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, sleep 6. Again, quasi wellness retreat property and high occupancy for $400 a night. This cast iron in a hot tub is actually so cool. This is something, I'm gonna be honest, I look at so many Airbnb listings and I take inspiration. And this is definitely something that I would draw inspiration from. I have not seen anything like this, but the house itself is frankly not that special. The property's not in a city, so it won't probably cost that much. If they're charging $400+ a night and the properties are rare find, meaning they're normally booked, it's likely making over 6 figures a year. So now we've seen a couple 3-bedroom houses that sleep 6 to 8 people and cater to a specific customer avatar that look to be making 6 figures plus a year. So that leads us to our next step. Step 4, let's get a feel for deal flow. So I'm gonna go to Zillow and check out what has sold in the general area in the last 6 months. If you're wondering why I'm doing that versus looking at what is for sale, the price on things for sale can be discouraging as people put properties on the market with unrealistic expectations. So I might actually rather see what has sold at first. And it looks like there are a ton of properties that sold, for $200,000 up to $400,000, $500,000. But I'm okay searching for properties up to $500,000 as there might be some wiggle room on your offer. If you are at this point, you should know your financing options. You can either do a conventional loan based off your W-2 income. This is great if you have a decent job, or you can do a debt service coverage ratio loan, also known as a DSCR loan. This is an asset-based loan, meaning the bank's gonna look at the property and see if it can make enough to pay back the loan. Definitely vetted a lot, and I think I can give you some of the best options there are around. So feel free to comment below. Happy to share mine with you if that's something that can be helpful. All right, so now that we found a couple properties that are doing very well in a general area that we like, that has the feeder cities that we're trying to draw from, and we've seen this trend that these are professional operators, they probably did their homework and they're crushing it. Now, I want to find properties that kind of can match the experience that they have created. And I want to say, please follow them on social media. I believe they actually offer design and renovation services. So if you actually do anything in this area, you should definitely work with them. Their Instagram is Skylar and Maddie. But this house I found actually looks like it would be a cool, 2 to 4 couple wellness retreat. I also personally like that this house seems to be well done on the inside and needs most of its work being amenitized on the exterior. So it looks like this one checks that particular box. However, it definitely needs some paint, probably paint it black. What I would also do is turn this garage into a gym and maybe make this pergola into like a hot tub, cold plunge experience. The reason why this game is cool is because being creative is actually what brings in the money. However, marketing is also very important. So this particular property seems to be about 20-30 minutes from a couple ski resorts. So location is important, and I do want to make sure there are things around there that can be year-round draws. Okay, well now I am excited. So my next question is, what are the regulations, if any, in the area? So we're gonna assume things are okay with this property. However, whatever property you're looking at, please call the city, county, and make sure things are okay. Obviously, you don't want to buy something, later figure out you need a permit or that short-term rentals are not allowed. Also, check if there's a homeowners association. For this property, there is not. Again, I did not check with the town or county, so please do not go buying this property and say, Jeremy said it was okay. That's not happening. Now, what I do is check to see the distance from our feeder cities. It looks like it is about 2.5 hours from Boston and less than 3 hours from New York and Northern New Jersey. Don't sleep on Northern New Jersey. There's a lot of people that live in that area. And my fiance is from there, and I only say good things about Northern New Jersey. The property is also half an hour from Albany. That is good for staycations. If you are serious about a property, now look for comps or data points using every data provider possible. And that brings us to our next point, and probably the one that I enjoyed the most. And step 5, run the numbers. First, let's run the numbers using BNBCalc. And no, this is not a plug for our software, but is actually one of the softwares that you really should use. So I'm gonna search BNBCalc, back to the listing. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually copy the share link. And what I'm gonna do is do a new analysis. And I actually just pasted the Zillow link and it automatically populated this info. 4 beds, 2 baths. We're gonna do sleeps 10 wellness retreat. We're not gonna stack too many bodies in there. Let's make it 8 couples. We only do couples. The purchase price is $449,900. Did it pick that up? Close. $449,900. Let's analyze it. So what BNBCalc did is it actually pulled from the comps or revenue estimate. If you go down here, you can see all the comps. You can actually filter them. So it looks like there's pretty healthy amount of comps in this area. I'd probably want to stay away from these ones because they look like lake houses, but I'd be more curious about these other ones that are close by. So let's look at a hidden sparrow, see what's up with it. And the question I want to know is can I beat this property? And looking at it, sure, it's unique architecture, it's cool, but there really doesn't look like there's any amenity. Come on, why is there a fire pit with 2 chairs? They say that the property sleeps up to 6, and you can't even put 6 chairs around a fire pit. So I'm pretty confident that I can beat this property. And BNBCalc has it pulling in 86,000. Definitely cross-reference, AirDNA, Rabu, BNBCalc pulls these comps either from Airbnb or AirDNA, but I would definitely check all. If you're serious about a property, use every data provider possible. But that's encouraging to see that house might be making 85K and isn't doing a very good job. This one right here, again, similar, nice property. Honestly, after we paint ours black, it actually looks pretty similar. You could paint it navy blue too. But yeah, this is kind of a country experience, but again, no amenities. There is no specific thing other than maybe sitting at a table overlooking the field that would like excite me to go to this property. Whereas ours, we're gonna have a hot tub, we might even add a gym. There will be things that draw me in for a wellness retreat. Again, this is not, if we just buy this property and we make it look like this, it won't do as well as it could. But if we really think through this exercise of who is our customer avatar and then what type of experience are we creating, we will be successful. So looking at these properties, similar to what we did earlier when we were looking for the pro properties, I'm gonna see, do they have a lot of reviews? Looks like, we're beginning of February, they have some from December, January. I'm gonna pick apart their calendar, see what prices they're charging, $400 a night. Looks like they're booked end of March. Looks like they're booked up a little bit in February. Same thing for this property. Looks like February is about pretty booked up at this point. And April, May have some bookings. But again, these aren't pros. They have nice properties, but they're not pros. I'm gonna say the word pros 100 times. Whereas the pro properties we looked at earlier, Maddie and Skylar's, that other guy with the hot tub in the deck, they were almost always booked. Where this one, if you go on Airbnb, it doesn't say, oh, this place is a rare find. So this is a good sign too. Airbnb doesn't put this up if the person's only at 40% occupancy. From my research, generally they put this up if it's like minimum 65% occupancy. We've seen some good data points. It says here that the property is making 78,000. So it's that one here. So we found 2 properties nearby that are sitting in this range. The question is, can we get up here? This is where we're really going to have some serious cash flow. So if we can get up into the 6-figure range. So this house right here is a lake house. Again, we want to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. That one is gone. This one is a Berkshire's mountain house. It has a pool. So again, we don't want to compare apples to oranges. The aviary. This one right here. This is a nice house, but again, not a pro. So I want to look through all the comps and really get the best idea possible. Click through all the listings, look through the calendars, look at the reviews. But based off this preliminary research, I'm pretty confident I can beat out the properties sitting over here. So I can likely, let's call it, I can confidently hit 90,000 in revenue. BNBCalc predicted more because there's so many high performing comps in the area, but I'm going to be more conservative here, and I'm going to say that we're going to sit at about a 60% occupancy, and I'm going to go low 400s on the average daily rate, which again, based off what we've looked at, seems pretty reasonable. So now what we do is we want to fill out every expense item. These include what our utilities are. Is it on a well? Is it city water? Do we have to pay for garbage? What's the electric bill? This is upstate New York, so we're gonna need some heating in the summer or in the winter, and air conditioning probably in the summer. So I'm gonna fill out every single one of these. I'm going to, insurance, to me that looks pretty reasonable. Landscaping, repairs, software, cleaning costs. I generally find that 10% of revenue generally goes towards cleaning. We're gonna property manage it ourselves, so we don't have to pay a property manager. If we had to pay a property manager, we would pay it in here. Put in here, and then obviously the important part of our variable, or one of the most important parts, is our mortgage. So I just closed at a 6.875% interest rate the other week. So I'm gonna assume that, I think rates have gone down a little bit in the last month or two, but I'm gonna assume it's still the same. It automatically pipes in property tax, but you're gonna check and make sure that is right. So here we see the DSCR ratio, which again, and this is how a DSCR lender is going to qualify you. They might do their own revenue estimate, but again, it's the same calculation, which is, can the revenue pay the mortgage? Here we have our initial cash investment section. So if we put 20% down on a 450K house, that's about 90,000. Renos and furnishing, you can either do it by bedroom or use a square footage estimate. Let's say I do it by square foot and I go, $15 a square foot, which that's about what I've been hitting lately. So I'm gonna apply that change. I can see how the furnishing went up, but we're gonna put in a hot tub. We're gonna do some cool stuff in the garage. So I'm gonna say $45,000 to the exterior. So now we're at a total cash investment of $175,000. Again, we bought a near $500,000 house, and we're putting money to making it one of the best properties in the area. And again, I'm gonna say in 2025, you kind of need to do that. The days of buying the turnkey properties and just taking photos of them and putting them on and expecting them to do well are over. Nowadays, you have to be very intentional, and you need to create the experience that matches your customer avatar. I have seen folk using second home loans, putting 10% down, and then 20, 30,000 into amenities, being all in like 75, 80,000 and doing well. But I will say, general rule of thumb, you should expect, whether you do sweat equity, use your hands and make costs lower, or you hire contractors, you should expect to invest in the property. So with that being said, what is the cash on cash return? 16%, which is our profit divided by the total cash investment. So a 16% cash on cash return, cap rate 13.4%, which is generally a lot higher than you're gonna find in multifamily or commercial right now, and a 25% ROI, because ROI includes the mortgage principal pay down, it includes appreciation. So your ROI is gonna generally be higher than your cash on cash return. This particular area is rural, so there aren't really any long-term rental comparables to pull from. Down here, we got the short-term rental loophole calculator. I can make, and I will make in a video entirely on that, but for the sake of this, let's just keep it focused on the cash flow and profit side of things. If you want short-term rental loophole, just comment below. Again, I'm here for you, so let me know what I can be helpful with. So all in all, we look up here, we can see that this property, here's the seasonality, which is broken apart by month. So we can see we expect to make the highest amount of cash flow in July, and the lowest, barely cash flowing, but yet still profitable in April. We can toggle and see the revenue, and then the profit takes out our expenses. We can also, again, filter these amenities. If you were looking at a property with a pool and you only wanted to see comps with the pool, you can check off that amenity filter. So we've calculated, our expected revenue. Again, if we're able to beat that out and actually maybe achieve a 475 average daily rate, look how that changes. Our profit goes to almost or over 40,000 a year and 3,500 bucks a month. However, again, we're going to be maybe a little bit conservative here, and we're still profiting $2,250 a month, which is for all sakes and purposes pretty solid. I mean, how would an extra $2,000 a month help you? But one of the big factors of our investment is the property appreciation. So if the property doesn't appreciate, do you see how much lower that makes our investment after 10 years? And that's what this chart is right here. It is the investment value over time. So here you can just see if the property does 5% appreciation, after 10 years, our total investment is worth our equity gain from cash flow, from property appreciation, and then inclusive of our down payment, our equity value is $695,000. Again, that's with a total cash investment of $175,000. That's pretty crazy. However, with no appreciation, it's down to $400,000. So appreciation is a big part of the investment. And now that we've ran the numbers, we see there's profit potential. So this leads me to step 6, tour the property. So now that we have an idea of how the property could do, we need to get inside. Either we should get inside or our realtor. It's hard to get a realtor that understands short-term rentals. If you want a realtor from the network that I use, just comment that below and I'm happy to connect you with someone. But someone needs to put eyes on the property before making any offers. But let's say you or your realtor went and saw the property. It has potential and no noticeable red flags. So now you make an offer and congratulations, you are under contract. That brings us to the next point. Step 7, due diligence. You need to do an inspection and make sure you have a thorough and good inspector. A good inspector will always find some sort of issues with the properties. However, when they do, don't fret. You can come up with a repair list, ask the seller at closing, or you can ask them to take care of the issues. I also recommend joining local Facebook groups. For example, this, upstate New York Airbnb investors that I found here. I'd network and talk to other local hosts, get their recommendations. Make sure to take anything anyone says with a grain of salt. However, it is always good to get contacts of vendors and cleaners and see who everyone has for insurance. I would also make sure if the inspection points out a specific issue, have a specialist come out and look at that. So if there's a septic issue, you want to have a septic specialist. If there's an HVAC issue, get an HVAC repair person. The inspectors are usually there to point out things, but if there are big things, it's good to get specialists involved. Yes, there was some, minor repairs that were needed. You asked for a credit at closing and they provided it. Oftentimes that credit can go towards your closing costs. Close on the property. Now what? Step 8, transform the experience. This is where you're going to transform the property into something awesome. I recommend working with short-term rental specific designers and not doing it yourself. I used to do it myself and I shouldn't have. My properties that are doing the best are the ones where I worked with not just any designer, but a short-term rental specific designer. If you want to use the ones I use, comment that below and I'm happy to connect you. So for example, here are the design mock-ups. So here is a bedroom. Here's what it looks like now. Here's their designs. I honestly could have never thought of these colors and how to make everything flow so well together. Here's an office that we're going to turn into a bedroom. Here's another room, high ceilings, kind of uniquely shaped, but they're making it so easy, not only in the sense of telling me what bed, what colors, but also where to put what. So you get an idea, not just bedrooms, indoor activities. Here's another bedroom. Here's a potential poker room. This is pretty cool. I actually gave them the idea for this off of a listing that I liked using. And I would definitely provide your designers inspiration because it actually really helps them to get an idea because they know how to design, but you know your customer avatar and you know the other pro properties in your area. So bathrooms, I know I'm clicking through fast here, but we're gonna take these old bathrooms with 1990s wallpaper, modernize them, maybe turn some spaces, turn a little closet into a toilet room or something, coming up with ideas. So here I want to convert the garage into a game room. So I mean, look at this and look at this. And this is where you have to have some creativity because this is going to look a lot nicer than this. And this is what's going to bring the guests and the bookings. If you leave it like this, you're not getting any bookings. On the other side, I actually want to add like a movie theater room. So again, let's look at this and let's look at this. I know it requires some creativity, but a designer is going to help you with that. So both my designers never actually went to the property. So I got a full 3D Matterport scan to make it easy for them. They not only sent me the design deck showing everything together, but they also gave me an entire spreadsheet of what to buy and which rooms to put everything in. So make sure you guys emphasize what you know to be the standout moments to your designers, and you don't need to over focus on things like bedrooms that won't make your property stand out. I like to find properties with good bones on the inside that don't really need anything structural but can get some touch-ups. I know I did put a toilet in the closet there, but I don't even know if I'm going to honestly do that. However, I think you guys are going to find this cool. So I went to Fiverr to help come up with some inspiration for the exterior, and this is what we came up with. So I sent them a bunch of examples of professional properties, not only in the area, but across the country. And I gave some ideas. I sent the Matterport that showed the topography. And this is what we came up with for the exterior. To me, this is the fun stuff. I love landscape design. I've became kind of passionate about at this point. However, for this property, the one that we are looking at, so you might look at that property that we were looking at earlier, this one here, and go, oh my gosh, the outside looks like a desolate wasteland. Like, how does this thing have potential? And again, this is kind of where you do need to just have an eye, have some creativity. But to be completely honest, this is the one that I just showed you. So I showed you those epic designs. Well, I think they're epic. Hopefully you like them too. This is what the backyard currently looks like. So I added a slide here, a rock climbing wall, but that's not already there. I mean, back here is kind of desolate wasteland. I mean, it's the winter, so it's pretty gray. Nothing's growing, but I want to do a fire pit here, pickleball, basketball court over here, maybe outdoor chess on this flatter area down there, putt-putt, all this jazz. So, we're going to have to do some drainage work. We're probably going to have to run something drainage to bring the water and push it out over there. TBD. I'm figuring that out right now. But this house right here, it has things going for it. I mean, this is cool. This is definitely something you can play with. Here, I haven't been inside. I don't know what it looks like, but can you wall off and insulate this thing and make it a gym? Probably. Can you add a big fire pit over here? Probably. Can you add, a flat area here? Maybe do cold plunge under here. Can you do all these things? When there's a will, there's a way. So put on that creative hat of yours. So you can go to Fiverr and get landscape renderings from like the ones I got. If you want to use the guy I used, I'm happy to give you his Fiverr link. So now you know what to do with the space. It's time to order everything. You can get discounts using services like HostGPO and Minoan. So definitely take advantage of those. And if you're going to do renovations on the property, make sure you vet your contractors and get permits where needed. I've done it different ways. I've DIY'd, but now oftentimes I use local help. So, I can be in New York project managing from thousands of miles away. So being hands-on at first taught me how to do things. So now it is easier to project manage remotely. It's taken a couple months, but you've got the property set up. Now it's time to market the place. And that brings us to step 9, marketing and management. I can't emphasize it enough. Photos are so important. Make sure to stage the property with the standout amenities in mind. The first 5 photos are the most important. Make a killer listing with a great description and price things right. I can do an entire video on pricing itself, but at a bare minimum, use dynamic pricing softwares like PriceLabs or Wheelhouse. A lot of hosts have the same prices every day and they are leaving money on the table. So using one of these types of softwares will help you respond to supply and demand fluctuations. I recommend listing on other relevant platforms like VRBO, Booking.com. And if you're gonna do something unique, you can also post onto social media and drive direct bookings. However, if you're gonna have a social media direct booking strategies, you're gonna wanna do that the right way. My mentee and business partner, Kyle, who should do about $2.5 million in revenue this year, markets through social media, and we figured out the best practices on how to drive bookings that way. However, to be honest, what you have needs to be actually unique for that to work. I'm gonna post more on direct marketing if that's something you guys want. But for a property like this, you should be able to drive serious bookings through platforms like Airbnb, especially if you market the property appropriately, make a great listing, and price it competitively. Turn it into a wellness experience. You could do direct marketing, and you probably will get bookings that way as well. So now the bookings start to roll in, and you want to just make sure your guests are having a great time, leaving 5-star reviews, and that you take care of the property over time. Do preventative maintenance. Don't just wait until a guest complains. You should have one of your team members going in there, inspecting the property, finding issues before your guests find them. The property's up, it's doing well, it's getting booked. Save some of that cash flow and invest in more. Or if you want to grow the portfolio without having to wait until you have enough money for that initial cash investment, or you don't want to have to raise money from investors, we should actually leverage other people's properties to grow our portfolio and grow our cash flows. That was actually the way I started making enough to where I could quit my job. Now, I use income from property management and co-hosting, and I invest into properties of my own. So if that's something that you want to learn more about, comment that, and I'm happy to share videos with you about building income through co-hosting. So I hope you guys appreciate and got value out of everything I shared with you today. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. Until next time.